Jake, I went running today for the first time in quite a while,
Sounds like a
and
mistake.
yeah, my body hurts from that, and I didn't even run that far. Made it a mile and a half, which I feel like it's pretty good for the first time in a long time. Thankfully, the picks are doing better than my body is doing. We swept the board on the game picks yesterday. This week on the show picks, you and Cousin Jared have just been knocking it out of the park. A combined 11-1 on the show picks. I mean, that's just kudos to you.
It's an unreal run. I mean, couldn't do it without the model. Man, this is just fun. This is just fun right now.
Yeah. The missed the prop with Rainwright, and I think that's kind of gambling sometimes, right? I think we actually kind of nailed the idea of what would happen and that he would get rocked, and the Cardinals were like, "You're just going to keep throwing, buddy." And I think what happened was the Cardinals getting a few runs off of Freed in the first inning. I believe they got those three back. I think kind of made them push him a little bit longer, like, oh, you might can get the win. It's like, the longer he pitches, the more runs he's going to give up, right? So he ended up, his ERA was like 8, and it went up after this, and yet he still went over on that prop. So, I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is. We'll try to do better on the prop here today.
Yeah, that's just rough. But I do love those colors on you. I mean, it looks really good. You got the right A this time.
Yeah. NFL started up tonight. Lions with the win. We lost the Monday night play on the Chiefs, but we won the A grade under 55, as that was never in doubt. Really, I mean, maybe it was 7-7 in the early second quarter. Maybe it was like in play, but I mean, it just never got anywhere near it on that under. So it's an easy A grade under. So starting off with a small profit here after one game in the NFL, so that's always good. And then just continue to roll along here in baseball. Jake, anything that I should say before we get to the games?
I mean, you got to be fair to us. We made that pick before Kelsey was out, so that was
also
really a ginormous loss.
Also true. I had him in the model worth somewhere between 2.5 and 3 points is where the math works out. I don't actually have like values for players as much as it kind of shuffles in together for positional ranking. So I rerun without a guy, and I could probably tease out what the players are worth individually. I guess if I really went hard enough. I don't have that enough to manage. No, I rerun the system, and when I pulled Kelsey out, it was like almost like a 3-point drop for the Chiefs. It dropped their wide receivers down to 30th, and I mean, good night. Like and we were talking about this before show. I do want to tell for the people who are watching, watching the NFL, like the Chiefs receivers, that was a bad game for them. No team, no player, no group is ever as bad as their worst game. That was probably their worst game. Like, I can't see it keep being worse. So take that for what it's worth. That said, I mean, obviously without Kelsey, they're in trouble. Even with Kelsey, like they only have the one guy. Like it kind of justifies my thoughts. And I know a lot of power rankings have the Chiefs like top 4, and I had them, I think, down at 10th with Kelsey. Now I think they were like 7th with Jones. I think losing Jones dropped him to like 10th. And then once I dropped Kelsey, it dropped him to 17th. And I'm like, that looked about right. That looked like about the 17th best team in football here that we saw tonight. You got a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. They got a decent offensive line that can protect him, but that's like it. They have nothing else besides offensive line, Mahomes, Jones, and Kelsey. It's like the whole team. And so, it's take 2 of those guys away. It's tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, the defense that really didn't do that bad, I didn't think. I mean, it was just – I didn't think –
the Lions' offense also isn't that good, so –
I expected a worse drop without Jones. They were still able to get to the backfield some. And
I think
no help on offense.
My thought is the issue is even without Jones, the defense still just doesn't have a lot of talent anyway. So with him, he can only – like I think Jones has a smaller impact on the defense than Kelsey does on the offense, because as good as Jones is, absolutely, getting pressure on the quarterback is only one part of the equation. I think it definitely hurt against the Lions because Goff's better when he's not pressured, as most quarterbacks are. But I think it was a little bit maybe more extreme than that. But he helps a little bit for sure. But Kelsey, you could just tell, was like a huge drop off. And but again, like I said, even then, I knew my model was lower on the Chiefs than we started. It's also low on the Lions, and I don't think I saw anything that impressed me about either team tonight. I think. Especially if you don't watch college, you were itching to see football, so you were excited to see football. But I don't know, it looked like 2 not very good teams to me. Maybe the Chiefs impress a little bit more when they get, two of their stars back. If they get two of their stars back, I don't know the whole Chris Jones thing. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Kelsey, you assume is back next week, and that'll help them out. But yeah. Anyway, enough of football. Let's get to baseball. 2:20 p.m. Eastern. Diamondbacks and the Cubs nailed this one here on Thursday night. Zach Gallen and Jamison Taillon. I mean, Jamison Taillon is not as good of a pitcher as Zach Gallen. I think we all know that. ERA is about 2 points difference. Underlying metrics, probably about a run and a half different. The biggest question I have about this game is, while Gallen's the better pitcher, he's really struggled on the road this year. I think that's why the Diamondbacks are not bigger favorites according to the model. We like the Diamondbacks. It's only a C grade pick, and I kind of think that plays into it a little bit here. Jake, I'm curious your take on that. Why you like the Diamondbacks, how you feel about Gallen on the road, how you feel about your confidence level. Do you think you could play it higher than a C grade? What are your thoughts on this? Because that's my biggest open question is this game's at home, and I'm like 100% happy to back the Diamondbacks at a short price with Gallen against Taillon. I mean, it's a massive mismatch. This Diamondbacks team's playing as good as the Cubs are playing. The Diamondbacks are playing well. We saw it here on Thursday. Outmatched a pitcher and still won, but Gallen on the road is like a little nervous, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be, except I think this Diamondbacks offense is good enough to carry the weight. And Taillon is serviceable. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's
not as bad as that ERA. He's not as bad as the ERA. But yeah, he's not good. I mean,
no. And so I think the Diamondbacks offense is really going to make up for the little bit of drop we see for Gallen on the road. And I think there's more of a chance that Gallen looks like he does at home on the road than it does that Taillon looks like a good pitcher. So plus the relievers, I really like the back end there. Sold. The Diamondbacks. I just think the Diamondbacks are a better overall team, especially with Gallen on the mound.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to frame it, right? That you might have a little bit of concern about Zach Gallen on the road, but Gallen on the road is still a better pitcher than Taillon at home is, and that's, I think, the thing to remember is that we can't get too carried away with. We always have to keep the comparison thought in our head, right? It's the same concept of when you think about relievers sometimes, right? When you talk about, do you want to let a starting pitcher go the third time through the lineup? The question is this guy kind of fatigued third time through better than what you have in the bullpen? And in a lot of cases, the answer is probably not. But in some cases, the answer is yeah. Like, I still would rather have, whatever, a Luis Castillo or whoever, right? He pitched tonight, so it's something about him, but a good pitcher that third time because he's better than a healthy guy and out of the bullpen. And that's kind of thing here is that even though Gallen's on the road, he's still better than Taillon. And so we still got the better pitcher here. Short price, -113. Model gives that a C grade. It says the correct price. It should be right at -113. So it just ekes into that value. -107 would be a B grade, about even money or so. Anything that's a plus would get it to an A grade if this number moves. You never know. I did notice it on Thursday. Every game we picked overnight moved 10 to 25 cents our direction. So who knows where the numbers will move, but -113. We like the Diamondbacks. Afternoon game, worth putting a little bit of action on. Don't get too carried away, though. At this price, it's not great, but if the price gets better, keep putting a little bit more on it, as the value increases. 7:05 p.m. Eastern, Marlins at the Phillies. Marlins tried their best to get perfect gamed against the Dodgers here. I think that ended in the seventh inning here on Thursday. Things don't get a whole lot better with Christopher Sanchez. Sanchez, the guy we talked about before, the model likes him. His ERA is really good. He's an interesting case. His xFIP is really low. His FIP is really high. What that tells me is he's been a little bit unlucky with the home run ball. That happens sometimes to pitchers, but the model really likes him. Yuri Perez, though, has been really good as well. Again, and we've talked about it before, probably not as good as that 286 ERA. I do expect some regression to come, but his underlying metrics have him around a 4. That's still pretty good for a rookie pitcher. So I want to make sure that I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth here, but I'm also trying to make sure that I'm not implying something too extreme. I think he's good for a rookie. I think underlying metrics around a 4, that's really solid. He's got a lot of upside. I'm sure he's going to continue to get better. I will say, though, that this 286 ERA, that is not reflective of how he's pitched this year. He has not been that good. He's been a little bit lucky to get that ERA that low. And he's going to need that luck to continue here because he's going up against the Phillies offense that really seems to be clicking at the right time. I assume that they will get Trey Turner back, who was out a couple of days on the paternity list, so congrats to him. He's missed a couple of days. Phillies had a day off. You assume that's typically what happens, is that the player typically takes the rest of the series off and then comes back the next one. This seems like, a home game here. It feels like the time that he would come back into the lineup. You never know. Of course, I haven't seen anything specifically, but I'm assuming that if I'm wrong, then that affects our assessment of this game. But assuming Turner's back, I mean, that even without him, this offense just continued to roll. I'm not sure it even mattered. As hot as he's been, everybody's been hot. And that Phillies lineup, the Marlins kind of hanging around there, but feel like they're sputtering a little bit. Decent pitching, decent relievers. The offense is the big difference. And of course, the game location tilts us towards the Phillies. Model says minus 151 is what the price should be. We locked in minus 140. Barely ekes into B grade. Minus 142 is the B grade threshold. Minus 131 the A grade. So we're about a dime away from that. Jake, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, look, I like Yuri Perez, but I think he's lucky, a little bit lucky. And the Phillies offense is not what you want that with, especially at home. And if Trey Turner's coming back, that's going to be because you got Harper, Schwarber, Turner, Castellanos. There's just too many guys.
Bob's been hitting the ball a little bit lately too.
Yeah. There's too many guys to have to get luck, keep the luck rolling against in that lineup. And I mean, I love Sanchez too. This is two really good pitchers going at it. They're going to be fun to watch. The relievers are. I mean, you can tell by your rankings they're just about even.
Solid.
It's just the offenses are different. There's where all the difference is. And then the Marlins, I just don't think you're going to get lucky and have a bad Sanchez game, and then bad enough for that offense to take advantage of it. Like once you're past really the first hitter of the areas, like it's not much there, especially with
Soler on the IL really matters. I mean, he is hit a lot of home runs this year as someone who my fantasy team completely fell apart. Like everybody that's been injured in the last month in the NL, I've had them on my team, and Soler's one of them. So he was a great revelation for them this season, and then now he's hurt, and that really hurts their offense, gives them takes away more of their pop. And your right-handed bat takes away against the lefty, right? So I mean, it's not good for them.
No, it's just not. It's not going to be a pretty look. I think it's going to look. I'm not going to say that they're going to get perfect games, but it's going to have a similar type feel. I feel like.
Of note, those relievers grade out pretty similarly. The top relievers don't, and that's been a theme with the Marlins this year. The relievers at the very back end. Robertson's had problems since they've got him out there. Puck has had problems with the relievers have done well. They project well. They're doing fine on the whole. Like they're doing fine in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. They can't get the 9th solved. And yet they still are winning a bunch of one-run games. It's a really weird, like it almost seems impossible that they have so many closer issues and yet win a ton of one-run games. It's like the closers happen to blow the game so that they're tied, and then they win it in the bottom of the 9th or the 10th by 1 run. It's like, it's just bonkers how that's put out. It's weird, small sample size. That's not going to keep happening going forward. But, it's just an interesting note. Their top relievers grade out at a 93, closer to league average, whereas the top relievers for the Phillies grade out at an 85. So that Phillies bullpen, solid at this point. Now, they had some issues early on in the year with injuries, but they've kind of solidified that. Looking like a solid playoff team, kind of like last year's team was, a little under the radar, and then kind of got going at the right time and made a nice little run there to the World Series. And it looks pretty similar to me.
Makes me really nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it should also make you nervous that you've got the other really good team in your division, because obviously Braves and Dodgers. I think the Braves and Dodgers are better than anybody in the AL. That's a whole other issue. Phillies here at minus 140. B grade pick. Total is. I had to talk about the total in the first game, simply because it's wriggling in the day and it looks like the wind's blowing in. But how I don't know how many times I've said it. Right, got to check the weather update regularly in the morning. Like that, it's really hard to talk about the night before. This one we can talk about a little bit. The projected total is 7.8. The books are listing 9. Now, if you want to go under, you do have to pay some juice. So, Jake, I'm curious your thoughts on this. We talked about the Marlins offense struggling, decent bullpens, good starting pitching. How do you feel about under 9, laying the minus 120, or if it's at 8.5, if it moves there, or if it's got better juice? What are your thoughts on this potential underplay, either one of those or neither?
I would play under 8.5. I'm not going to go any lower than that, but I just, like I said, I don't think the Marlins are going to get much done here, and I don't think we're going to get a 5. Like my biggest fear would be 5-3, 5, like going into the 8th or whatever, and then we turn into a one run game and get over to 9. But I think we're going to get like a 4-2, maybe 4-1 kind of game.
Would you prefer under 9, minus 120, under 8.5, even money? If I offered you both of those, which one are you taking?
I'd take even money.
Take even money. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you lose at 9. I don't know, but I'd rather take the extra payout to lose at 9 than it would to get my wager back.
What do you think about a Marlins team total under then? Because neither one of us think the Marlins are going to put up much offense. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'd probably be all over it because I just don't think the Marlins have anything.
I don't know what the team total is right now, but knowing the way this works, Model likes the Phillies, Model likes the under. Model's going to like the Marlins team total under. There's really no way around that. Like, if not, then that's like another weird, paradox type thing. That's probably a good play too. If you're looking out there, if you play some of the team total stuff, Marlins team total under a strong play, and they're starting to. I don't know exactly. I mean, someone can correct me on this. I watch a lot of baseball. I keep up with a lot of baseball, but I can't catch everything, right? But it is starting to feel a little bit this Marlins team like the stretch that the Pirates had earlier this year and that the Marlins had last year, where they just were like constantly scoring 3 runs or less. And it's like they would not go under 3. They'd score 4. It was like 4 was like their high water mark or something. And so I'm not sure if it's exactly been like that, but it just feels like every time I turn around, this Marlins offense is just sputtering to like 3 runs or less. That just seems like it's happening more often than not. And so I don't know. Maybe some of you have already been playing the Marlins team total under and finding some success there. I'm not sure.
Seems like a smart play.
Yeah. 8:10 p.m. Mets at the. We back the Twins a lot. Jake, we were talking before show. Just kind of shooting the breeze here, and it feels like the Twins and the Blue Jays are turning into last year's Mariners or Guardians, where we're kind of just like always backing them. The model's always like it's working for us. We're making money off of them. It's not winning every night, but I mean, we are just off from the market, and that's. Honestly, and look, for those of you, you get more traction on football, more people are watching football than baseball. So I'm assuming all of you are watching football shows as well. So this is why I want to talk about this, right? That's honestly where we're going to find our value in both college football and the NFL is where we differ from the market and we find an edge. And we're not going to have an edge every single time, but we can find those where we're different. We can exploit those. That's how we're going to get in the long run profitable because, again, we know it's not going to work every game, but if I use every single exact metric that the sportsbooks usually come up with a line and I come up with a line that's basically their number, like how does that help us, right? We're trying to find other angles where we find edges. And that's kind of what we've found. Like last year, we always talk about the Mariners. This year, though, it's kind of the Twins have been that team where I think we think their offense maybe is a little bit better than the sportsbooks do. We think their pitching is better. I'm not sure. Whatever it is specifically, we're kind of always finding edge in the Twins. This one today, oh my goodness. That number for starting pitcher on the Twins, Dallas Keuchel, and a 97, and we left him for literal dead last year. Last year, his rating got up to like a 130. I mean, he pitched really well, and he's pitched well more recently than you think. I guarantee that because it was more recently than me or anybody else I've talked to thought about this. But it went downhill fast for him. Last year was abysmal, and we were just fading him left and right. He fell off a cliff. This year, he can't, make any traction with any minor league teams. He's at different places. And lo and behold, he gets picked up. He's playing for the St. Paul Rubber Duckies. Probably Akron, I think is the Rubber Duckies. I don't know what they are. Minor league team names are great. Whatever they are, the St. Paul, it's probably the St. Paul Saints is probably what it is. He's playing with them. I think it's them anyway. It's their AAA team for Minnesota. He's playing with them, and he's starting to pitch decent. And, Twins got a couple guys hurt, and they decided to call him up, and he pitches okay, and then he pitches okay. He's shaky out in there, and then he pitches. And then one game he has like a perfect game in like the 6th inning or something. Like, he's actually been good again, and it's just I don't know. I just cannot get over this. Like when I saw that, I was like, "What is happening?" 4.73 ERA. He had that one. I think he had that one rough start. FIP of 4.08. XFIP of 3.99. He's always been an extreme ground ball pitcher. Lets the guys put it in play, but gets weak contact, gets outs, doesn't walk guys, and he's had just good. The difference with Keuchel when he's been able to, you want to Cy Young. I don't know if y'all remember that. When he's been at that level, all-star level, he's made 2 all-star teams. He's gotten just enough strikeouts to make his shtick work. When he hasn't, he's not getting those swings and misses, and he's getting too many balls in play, and it's not one hit an inning that he can strand. It's multiple hits an inning. And that gets in trouble for him. He's gotten enough strikeouts now to make it work. These underlying metrics are really impressive. I just cannot believe it's a sub-100 rating for Dallas Keuchel. Obviously, we know, Kodai Senga for the Mets, a guy we've talked about all season long from the very start, thought he'd be pretty solid. He's lived up to that. He's pitched even better. His results have been even better than his underlying metrics, mid-threes for the underlying metrics, 308 for the ERA. I don't think he's quite as good as at 308. I think you can see on screen, people. 83 for the Mets, 97 for the Twins. That's about a full standard deviation. Senga's the better pitcher, full stop. Don't get me wrong. The gap is smaller than you might think, is I guess the point I'm trying to make with this, that it's a 1 standard deviation gap. If you look at just their ERAs, if you think about what happened last year with Keuchel, you probably think it's closer to 2. The model's just saying Senga's the better pitcher, but it's just not by as much as you think. The Twins aren't that much outpitched. The benefit for the Twins, of course, they don't need Keuchel to go 7 innings. They're not asking him to go 7. They haven't, they're asking him to go 5, turn it over to a very strong bullpen, whereas the Mets bullpen is a disaster. They were beating the Nationals on Sunday, or not Sunday, on Wednesday, I guess, Wednesday day game, I think up 2-0. Lose 3-2 with the bullpen. Bullpen is terrible. It's been terrible all season. Losing Diaz hurt. But even without Diaz, I'm just not sure. Like, it's just not gone well. And who knows, maybe putting him in the 9th resets everybody, gives them slightly better, different roles. And, manager gets, has that more flexibility to pitch Diaz in the 8th when it's the top of the lineup and use the guys, maybe everybody pitches better. I don't know, but this bullpen's been terrible all season. Y'all know that. Twins 60% likely to win according to the model. I do not know why we're getting plus odds on the Twins. This is insane. We're always a little bit out on the Twins because we like the Twins and they've been good to us. And so I have no reason to not keep betting them. But even if the model's biased a little bit, even if it shouldn't be minus 153, what the model says, maybe minus 143, I don't know, it shouldn't be anywhere near plus 105. I think this is just people are looking at the pitching matchup and they're thinking, oh my gosh, massive edge Mets. It's edge Mets. It's not massive. Keuchel's not bad, and I cannot believe I'm saying that after all the money we made fading him last year. But here we are, Jake. What you got for us on this one?
I mean, you know the pitchers, but I think we've overstated the value of the Mets offense. I don't think that offense is there anymore. And then especially with the relievers, if your relievers are going to be that bad, you've got to have an offense that's very, very good on top of to give you cushion there. Otherwise, it's putting a ton of extra pressure on Senga here to go deep and really control the game. And I think the Twins have a good enough offense that they might get 1, maybe 2 off of Senga, but they'll definitely get 1 or 2 in the late innings. So any lead that I think the Mets might have is very not safe. It's just going to be dangerous, and I think the Twins will easily win this one, actually.
We've talked about this too. I don't know. Maybe it's just being an Astros fan. I'm just a little bit skewed on the offenses because I've been fortunate as a fan to see good, and you have too as a Braves fan, to see good offenses, and more than we watch our teams. I watch a lot of baseball, right? But we watch our own teams a little bit more. We can't help it, right? But we talked about the Twins offense being at a 111, and we've all kind of just I don't know, maybe they're not quite that good. It feels like they're more like a 104, like they're slightly above average. But I think that trickles down to everybody. Like the Mets at 101 kind of feels like they're more like 95, right? And then you see a team like the Pirates gets an 88, and you see what they do half the time offensively, and you're like, they should be like an 80, right? It's like everything feels a little bit like we're just messed up because the Astros offense, when it's clicking, my goodness, what they did on that road trip was insane. The Braves offense has been insane all season. The Dodgers offense kind of sputtered a little bit that first month, and they've had so many injuries, but they have put up a ton of run. It's everything's skewed from those teams, And so I'm with you. I look at this Mets 101 and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think they're that good. I think everybody down there should be 5 to 10 points lower than the model says, because my perception of league average, I think, is a little bit off, I guess. But you're right. This Mets offense just hasn't been that impressive. They were supposed to be good and haven't been.
Yeah, I think they have. I think talent-wise, you've got them rated really they're maybe even a little low for their talent. It's just the talent hasn't produced this year. Kind of like we were talking about Guerrero Jr. It's just they're just having multiple guys are having bad years, and it's just really. And then at this point in the year, don't know really how much they're going for it because they're seeing the end of September coming up, and they're probably more than happy about it.
which is a good reminder. We've been talking about a little bit, now that we're September, these are September 8th games as we get towards, early October is when the season ends, right? For the most part, we're not going to overthink that, but we do want to keep that in the back of our brain in certain situations. I guess the way I'd like to think about it is, I think this team might not be trying hard is probably not enough reason to make a bet, but it might be enough reason to keep you off of a bet, right? Because for the most part, the model still does a really good job. It's done so well the last couple of years of September because it hasn't overthought it. It's just said, here's who's on the team. Here's how good they are. Guys try hard most of the time, even right down to the very last day. But there are situations where you might see a big edge on a team and just say, I just don't know if I can trust them. Scale back your bet or a medium edge and just say, I'm just not going to play them. I'm not sure. I would say, I think they've given up. I'm going to always fade them because they're still going to win, right? They're still going to win some games, but might be enough to pull. So just something to think about here as we enter September. It's always fun to be on the other side because you don't have to worry about it, right? In this situation, it's not even something to think about. We like the Twins. We've been liking the Twins. They've been good to us. We're back them here. It's just a ridiculous plus 105. Doesn't guarantee the Twins win. It is not saying they're a lock. There are no locks in gambling. It is saying that if they were to play this 10 times, we think the Twins win 6 of them. Maybe we observe one of the 4 they don't. Baseball's a weird game. Sports are weird. Life is weird. Who really knows? But in the long run, this is a profitable price for us to bet. I said that a lot. Most of y'all know that. Just got to say it for the newbies to make sure you're hearing me correctly on this. Twins with plus 105, solid long run play, which takes us to the prop of the day. I'm going to try to close the week on a good note here. Usually I show the screen from Outlier.bet /professor, get you that free 7-day trial of what the pitcher's done all season. I'm not doing that. Why is that? Blake Snell has struck out a lot of people this year. There's no point in showing you that. You know that. I know that. We all know that. He's like 11 strikeouts per 9. Here's the thing, though. We have consistently won, like 9-1 record-ish. I don't know, something like that. Fading lefties against the Astros. This Astros offense loves lefties. They're right-handed heavy, and the lefties they have in that lineup can really hit lefties. Tucker and Alvarez are 2 of the best against lefties in baseball. And so I wanted to show you from Outlier, and I kind of showed y'all this yesterday. I wanted to zoom in on Houston versus lefties, strikeout percent for the season, number 1, and look in the last 30 days, that percentage has gotten lower. They don't strike out that much. They run pitchers. Blake Snell has done a better job lately of getting to 6 innings, but he's easily a guy who can spend way too many pitches trying to strike a guy out, trying to be too crafty, and only get 5 innings. If he only goes 5 innings, it's going to be hard for him to get to 7. Not as he's saying he can't. It's going to be hard to. But this Astros just doesn't strike out a lot. So I like Blake Snell under 6.5 Ks here because of the Astros. Not because of Snell. This number's high because he's a good strikeout guy. He's going to strike some people out. It's just I love fading lefties against the Astros. It's really that simple. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I love it. You can see the strikeout rate and the strikeout, the walks or what there. But those second set of 3 numbers where they're all number 1s in the last 30 days are just as important because that means there's a good chance he gets run early and can't get to 7 Ks because he's not even going to go 6 innings or something like that. So I think this is a very, very smart play. The fact that it's only minus 110 is kind of incredible.
Yeah, let's dive into that. 2023, the Astros versus a lefty. 355 weighted on base average, ranked 2nd in baseball. So you don't even have to understand weighted on base average. It's a metric that just tries to weight home runs as more because home runs are worth more than triples, worth more than doubles, worth more than singles, worth more than a walk, right? A walk's good, single's a little bit better. Why is a single better? Because runner on first base, you get a single, he goes to 3rd, walk, he goes to 2nd, right? Runner on 2nd, he probably scores, right? So single's a little bit better, right? Weighted on base just tries to put all that into one number. You don't even have to understand it. Just look at the fact that they're 2nd in baseball at 355 and look at their last 30 days, 419. That is insane with an on base over 400. Their offense has really clicked. They're healthy. They are rocking and rolling against, and I've talked about it all season. Y'all been watching me. Y'all know I love this here. They just project so well against lefties. They don't strike out. They might run Snell early. This is easily a start. I can say. I looked at Snell's outs under. You can go with that as well. I think it was 16.5. You can go with that under. That's absolutely. I don't know what Snell's game plan is going to be. He might decide these guys don't strike out that much and they have a good eye, they walk a lot, like that walk to strikeout ratio, he might decide to not be as nibbly and to try to go an extra inning or so and give up on the Ks a little bit. So I don't know as much about the outs, but it feels like a 5-inning start is about right. But if it's 5 innings, he's not going to get the Ks. And if he goes 6, I think it's because he's not getting the Ks. That's why let me make sure I say that one more time, because sometimes I struggle explaining things. I see two worlds. Snell's either, I think, going to get a really high pitch count, and he's only going to make 5 innings, which is going to make 7 Ks hard. Or if he's going deeper, I think it's because he's not trying to nibble and get every single strikeout, which is going to make 7 strikeouts hard. So I like it either way. Again, just as we said before, no locks in gambling, right? It's just, in general, this is going to be a tough number for him to get to. And unlike you, minus 110 is really good. I think this should be juiced a lot higher, personally. Jake, anything else to talk about with Blake Snell or the Astros?
No, just the 328 average as a team is just ridiculous in the last 30 days, too. That's just
versus lefties,
hard numbers. Yeah, that's just hard numbers to look at. Just, man,
and they faced a lot of lefties lately, because we've come on here and we faded a lefty against the Astros on these props like twice a week. So they faced a lot of lefties. It's not like it's just, a sample size of like 3 games. Like, it's been a lot. And as you can see, they've been doing it all season as well. Again, Outlier.bet /professor, 7-day free trial to check it out. No commitment beyond that, but they got so many good things to look at. NFL player props, MLB player props, college football player props that you can do. Back in grad school, we joked about creating a college football fantasy league. I don't know. People do that stuff now. So they've got all that information. If that's your thing, it sounds fun. I don't know how you do it, but it sounds fun. All sorts of goodies, team metrics, game metrics, total, all sorts of goodies over there. Outlier.bet /professor. Check that out. And that is our show. Jake, parting words from you heading into the weekend.
No, I'm going to give you one college football bet. I really like Southern Miss plus 17.5 first half, because I think Florida State's coming off that LSU, going to be riding high, start a little slow. I mean, if we get one score out of Southern Miss in that first half, I think that one cashes easy.
Nice little nugget there. Cousin Jared and I on the extra show that we give for our Dub Club subscribers only, we covered every other game. So if you're with us on Dub Club, check that. I sent that link out. It's a Dub Club exclusive. For us, we talked about every other game, and we kind of mentioned that with Florida State. With this week and next week, kind of, the week after that's Clemson, and so these next 2 games a little bit, coming off of that win, looking ahead now, like they looked really, really good. Model loves them now. Model has just skyrocketed them and just said, "Hey," and I think what the Model was so impressed with was, and I think we mentioned on the show for those of you who didn't catch it, it's not just the defense got some stops, but like getting all those like second and goal from the 2, third and goal from the 2, fourth and goal from the 2, or whatever it was, right? Like getting all of those stops, like, that was impressive. They kept getting those stops, and that defense looks really good. But yeah, you're right. Like, that is something to consider with college football, those trap spots, those look ahead spots, that sort of thing. And yeah, you're right. They're definitely short week for them. Feels like they know they go out there, and that's the thing about spreads. It's tough, right? That's what we're talking about money lines, because we got to think about our incentives being aligned, but they don't care about covering a spread. They're just got to go out there, get the win, stay healthy, move on to the next week, because nobody needs to get hurt against a team like that they can just walk all over, right?
Yeah, and it feels like Frank Gore's kid has had as long of a career at Southern Miss as he did in the NFL.
Yeah, he's doing really well there, and it feels like he's been there for several many years now. There at Southern Miss, so a little good college football nugget there. Well, that will do us for this episode of Picks with the Professor. That wraps us up for the week. We got all sorts of content to go back and watch if you haven't yet on all of the football, 2 college football shows and an NFL show as you head into the weekend with your Friday baseball bets. Again, all your Saturday and Sunday bets over on Dub Club, and all your football bets, of course, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.